Let's get prepared together.
Be prepared.
Hello, Redlands Stake. This month's emergency prep video is on water storage and purification. We'll talk about prepping water before we store it, a couple different ways of storing it, as well as a few different ways of purifying future sources of water. So here we go. Let's start by covering storing water. Many of you probably have water storage, including those 55-gallon drums. Great. Do you really need all those 55-gallon drums? Well, maybe not that many. If you have room for them, sure. You can buy used food-grade drums on OfferUp or Facebook Marketplace. If you do not have room, don't despair. New water falls from the sky, and we have a lot of water in our local area, even more so now that we've had such a wet winter. So, if larger barrels are not an option, or even if you have barrels, I suggest much smaller 5-gallon water containers with a wagon or a wheelbarrow or even a baby stroller. The wagon is assuming no gas for vehicles in a survival scenario. The idea here is that water will be available somewhere locally. There are a number of links in the email, including one for these 5-gallon containers. Also, a few small containers will be portable in case you need to bug out. The next idea is not a main plan, simply an additional option. That is collection of rainwater. The challenge here is, of course, that it's not dependable. It is more of a long-term survival technique. If it comes from a roof, then it is considered gray water and is not drinkable. But it can be filtered, more on filtering later. You can also have a design system that will catch mostly clean rainwater from a clean tarp, not from your roof. What about pools? There's a lot of water in a swimming pool and a lot of chemicals. Chlorine, bromide, cyanuric acid, ammonia, chloramines, as well as bacteria and other pathogens. As you can see, the list goes on. You cannot drink pool water without filtering or distilling it. The filtering process requires a higher-end filter system. If you swallow a mouthful of water when you're swimming, it won't hurt you. But using unfiltered or undistilled pool water as a source of drinking water will quickly get you sick. We will cover filtering and distilling later. Additionally, about pool water, you can't simply use water purification tablets on pool water. Purification tablets will kill germs in the pool, but they won't do anything to get rid of the chemicals in a pool. Also, if the grid goes down, the pool water will become stagnant and degenerate quickly and will soon become beyond filtering or distilling. Basically, relying on pool water for drinking is on the risky side, and you don't want that. Having said that, if you have a pool and are planning to use the water for drinking in an emergency, you need to have a higher-end filtering or distilling system in place before the big emergency hits. The next section is on purification. So that is it on storing water. Next, we will cover water purification. In a survival situation, your safest water to drink will be water you have stored properly. However, any new sources of water will need to be purified. Why do we need to purify water in an emergency situation? For one, in a bad scenario, the city or county won't be delivering clean, high-quality water. Also, we may collect water from a variety of sources, which may not be clean. What is it in the water that needs to be purified? Two things: microorganisms or germs, and chemicals. Purification is a big topic. I'm only going to give a quick overview. There are links for expanded information. We'll discuss 3 ways to purify water: purifying chemicals, filtration, and water distillation. So, first, chemical water treatments. We'll begin by addressing how to prep your water before you store it, and then we'll get into purifying new sources of water. Let's talk about 55-gallon drums. There is an ongoing debate over whether to add bleach or some other chemicals to stored water. We are all familiar with putting chlorine in swimming pools. When we add bleach to water, it releases chlorine. Do you put bleach in your stored water? I searched the latest on the internet. It appears that the answer is yes, but not very much. 5.5 teaspoons per 55 gallons, which is far less than the 1 cup I have heard in the past. However, this supposes that you rotate your water every 6 months. If you do not, then you need to add more. The most people say is 1/2 to 1 cup per 55 gallons. There's a prepper website run by a husband and wife out of Utah called Provident Preppers. Links to some of their articles and videos are included. They suggest that you can use a chemical in treating swimming pools called calcium-hypochloirte, which is also known as pool shock. It is very cheap. A $10 1-pound bag cleans 10,000 gallons of water. They have a table developed by the military that shows how much to use. In the past, I've used bleach, and at one time I rotated water which had been stored in 55-gallon drums for a number of years. I tasted the water as I was draining it, and it was crystal clear and tasted great. However, in the future, I will be switching to calcium hypochlorite as described in the linked article. As you can see here, it requires very little for a 55-gallon drum. Using calcium hypochlorite for small amounts of water is tricky. You have to make a solution. You can't just store it in or near metal, and you have to store it in glass jars. So please read the attached article and learn the details of using calcium hypochlorite. The table in the Provident Preppers article on how much calcium hypochlorite to use is only talking about calcium hypochlorite. Pool shock, which is how you get your calcium hypochlorite, has additional inert ingredients that take up a lot of space. So to get the right amount of active ingredient, you have to use more. We're not going to detail it here. I'm just going to give you the link to their 12-minute updated video. If you're going to use calcium hypochlorite, you need to watch this video. Next on adding chemicals to water is water purification tablets. These tablets are for smaller quantities of water, like when you're hiking and you want to purify water in your canteen. They're easy to figure out how much to use. Again, there are links. I definitely would have water purification tablets in your emergency prep stock. They are a staple of a 72-hour kit. The second way to purify water is filtration. There are a lot of filtration systems out there, small to large and inexpensive to expensive. Here we have straws for camping and hiking, a pump system, a simple gravity bag which goes through a straw to a collection bag, and a larger gravity countertop system. Again, I refer you to a link from the Provident Prepper website for a detailed discussion of filtering and their personal favorites, so you can get their reviews. Filtration is practical and a doable option. The last method of purifying water is water distillation. You can't just boil water. It will kill germs, but the solids are left behind and a lot of water evaporates. The right way to boil water is to use a distiller, even a simple homemade one. At the 5-minute mark of the Provident Preppers video on making water safe to drink, it describes a simple stovetop distiller using existing pots you would have. It took me a minute to figure out what they're doing here. They're boiling water, there's an upside down glass lid which is curved, and they have hung a smaller container to the handle of the glass lid to collect the distilled water droplets dropping in the center. You can see under the glass that there's a second smaller container. There are many distillers, from $80 counter-size units to larger units around $1,500 to $2,000. I have a link for a distiller for around $100 that does not require electricity but does require fuel for burning. There are two downsides to distillers. They require a lot of energy, and most of them need electricity, which would not be reliable in a survival situation. Purification tablets and filtering are going to be the way to go for most people. And one final thought about distilling. No moonshining. Don't start distilling your neighbor's grapes. And that's the presentation. So, lots to think about. Watch the attached videos and read the attached articles of interest. What do you do if you're in a limited budget? In my opinion, you should get some 5-gallon water containers or something similar, some water purification droplets, and a filtering system. It can be gravity filter, pump filter, and don't forget the straws.
Okay, everybody, get ready.
Emergency prep, you can do this.